Well, first of all, like I want to say this is a real treat. I've been looking forward to this for a minute. Have you down here, even just to drink coffee with you in general.
No kidding. Yeah, I'm glad to be here too to do that because I thought that was fun. I did.
But to your point about running out of stuff to say, I think every time you and I have had a conversation together, we never run out of stuff to say. We run out of time before we run out of stuff to say.
Well, for sure. But so then the thing is when you actually get down to like, for me, I feel like I can totally visit about almost anything, and yet obviously what has been what I've been researching or reading or thinking about,
Yeah.
that's really what kind of starts to make me. I mean, it ends up really getting into my conversations, and um, anyway, but at the same time, sometimes I wonder if I get tired of the like I have a lot of interest, but then to talk about something that, like, sometimes I wonder if, well, what is my thought? I've been thinking about, like, like I don't know if it's always interesting, talking about theology.
Oh,
You know what
right.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I can get hung up on that whole point, and then you're like, well, maybe we're done with this subject already. What do
You,
you-
yeah, you start to get that sense when you're talking to people. It's like all of a sudden you get the sense that they're done.
yeah, right.
Or either not getting it or else they're done. One of the two. Yeah, yeah. I'm completely with you on that.
Yeah.
Did you bring any? Did you take any notes about stuff you did want to talk about? I was going to ask you about this before and I forgot.
Um, Not really anything in particular. I don't think so.
There was something you said on the phone that sort of fascinated me. Just to go off the deep end and get in deep here. So
Yeah.
you said to me, you alluded to, how did you say this? You said something like, see if I wrote it. I wrote down in my notes. You made a comment on the phone about maybe that I think you've gone off the rails. You just alluded to that.
I was
What?
I was curious about that. If we all grew up in different circumstances, and so it's totally what makes us who we are today, and those and so then I was thinking about you and where you come from and what you grew up under, and then how that has affected you and who you are, and like, I mean, I take you at face value, so I'm not like, I don't look deeper than that
Yeah.
really necessarily, and yet and then also what's been interesting to me is I've really pondered why I even enjoy visiting with you. I don't even know for sure why that is. other than I think what I can get out of it. Like, I get um I mean, I feel like I can learn a lot in visiting together with you. And so that part interests me a lot. Um because it seems like there can be a substantial amount of knowledge that I can get from you. And then that's the part we'd had this conversation earlier about um, books and what you believe. And I wonder if you and I even didn't talk about this just a little bit. I can't remember.
Okay.
Maybe not.
Well, maybe when we were over sort of for New Year's Eve.
Yeah, maybe
Maybe
that's
we
when it
touched on
was.
some
We
stuff.
touched on that just a little bit about why you choose to believe something out of a book or not believe something out of a book.
Mm.
I think that's what I was thinking about. But with that being said, man, there was a lot of thoughts that went through my head this Christmas for some reason.
Yeah,
So did
I wanted to ask you about that at some point because you had mentioned to having conversation with your brother, but I have a question about. So you get in these, we got into these. Take the conversation the other evening, for example, and then I'm curious about in that event. Did you not that one in particular, but just in these types of events, do you get the feeling though that people think you're unhinged?
I don't know if I don't know if I have really, but I have wondered if there's been any thoughts down that line. It's been, it's went through my head for sure.
Does it go through your mind after or during?
Um, that's a good question. I would say that I don't know if I thought about it so much when I was in the discussion, but later on I was thinking about it and I'm like, well, knowing that I possibly could be, somewhat unhinged. And then that's what made me think about it later on. It was like, okay, um, maybe that maybe that really does make me look like I'm completely crazy. I mean, I just like, how you leave a conversation sometimes and you replay and replay that conversation. You're just like, where were we going with this? I mean, like I can really get into a conversation to where you'll end up, I could almost keep you from sleeping.
Oh,
Like
interesting.
I've definitely done that before where I'll get really deeply into the conversation and then you go home from a social function and caffeine mixed with mind extreme mind thoughts just leaves you not able to even relax and sleep on it.
Yeah. Um, I don't know if I've had that particular experience, but I am familiar with this thing of while you're in a conversation, all of a sudden or maybe even later, you say, think, look, I don't have any idea what even was the question. Like
Yeah.
then you realize that look, um, or then I realized, look, one of the things that happened is I sort of lost control of myself in that conversation.
Yeah,
Like, do you sort of relate with that?
absolutely. And so what happens is what you do is you go from being um Shannon actually brought this to my attention the other day. That was kind of interesting. He talked about being curious instead of being um, critical, which is,
Yeah.
I mean, you can probably use different words there, but anyways, having a curiosity about almost anything.
Yep.
Because I'd brought up I don't remember how it fit into the conversation one morning when we were together for coffee at Merv's, and then we talked about different things, and then I'd brought up Alex Honnold as an example of fear. Like he talks about overcoming fear.
Okay, hold
so
on. What does this dude do?
he free solos,
Oh, okay, yes.
almost anything. I mean, so very popular, and he's actually just fixing the free solo. Taipei. What's the name of that tower in China? I think it's China.
Is this something that's never been done?
No, I think it's just coming out. Like he's going to do it now in just a few days.
Yeah, but like nobody is he free soloing something that's never been free soloed?
I don't think this tower has ever been free soloed that I know of.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So
it's fear.
yeah, but anyways, and he had, and I couldn't remember exactly how because we were talking about something, and I wish I remembered that point because I just brought this up like rather facing your fear or over being able to deal with your fear maybe. I think that was maybe the point. I cannot remember because anyways, and I brought him up, and then there was a little bit of knee jerk reaction to that, like most people think he's crazy because he would do something that would be completely so dangerous as to put his life in danger. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it is a little bit that way. But I'm not saying that, like, I wasn't, I was neither here nor there on. I was totally neutral on how I felt about what he does. Like, it's not something I would do, no. But at the same time, he has a point,
Mhm.
Anyways, so I was going to go somewhere with that thought. With
Staying
you.
curious.
Yes. In a conversation.
Yes.
And so you go from kind of like exploring the topic to all of a sudden like trying to convince somebody that your point is correct. You know,
digging in on some point. Yeah. Because somebody,
and that part kind of intrigues me, that because I would like to not necessarily be that way. Like I would like to stay curious through the conversation. It's not like there is no point to be made. It's just like, what can we learn from this exact topic?
Right. But so do you feel like you're in a particular season of life at this particular moment where you have a lot of questions?
Something's happened. I'm not sure what. Well, okay. So what makes you question? What really got me questioning it is your emotions affect who you are and what you do. And so then when you think about it, you're like, so you have this circle in your mind, in your head, and it's like, okay, so your emotions are in your heart. Like this is the way I think about it. Your emotions are in your heart, so it's different. It's something different than your mind. And your mind. Somebody said that your mind plays tricks on you. I guess so. Like, but so what would tell you that this is factual? I would almost think that your mind would be able to determine that something was factual.
Okay.
At the same time, I know that your mind is probably the thing that goes faulty at times. You know what I'm saying? But so then you're like, well, okay, but your emotions are real.
Okay.
And then you're like, okay, so God works with your emotions, right?
I'm learning. Keep
well,
going.
Yeah, but this is this kind of the way this goes in your mind. But then all of a sudden you're like, okay, but there's a huge percentage of people that don't necessarily get together. Like one thinks this way about someone and then they don't get together in the end because the other one doesn't feel that way. And so then you're like, okay, so, but I thought God was working with my emotions. So then you're like, well, okay, what I see isn't actually, it's not quite real.
I see what you're, okay, I'm
That's sort
following.
of how my thought pattern went.
Okay.
And so it was like, okay, so if all along your emotions are just like human emotion, right? Like what's affecting your human emotion? I don't know. I still don't know for sure what affects your human emotion other than circumstances. But with that being said, I feel like that some of what really got me under, because all of a sudden my thoughts just were crazy. Like I just had more thoughts than normal. Like most of the time you're controlling your thoughts, and all of a sudden my thoughts were controlling me.
Okay.
Type of deal.
Yeah.
It went bizarre.
Yeah.
But anyway, so then what happens is so then I started to think about the part of, or I read somewhere that introspection. So people that are introspective and sensitive generally actually have a little bit higher problem or whatever with depression. So I don't know if that makes any sense, but so then, and then I do tend to be a little introspective. So I look at so like what caused me to be this way? Like why did I kind of lose who I was?
Mm-hmm.
And so I started to look at that a little bit more, and I think that I came to a little bit of a conclusion. There's a couple of things, and that's that I wasn't feeling that great, health wise
Oh,
either.
oh,
That was one of them.
that plays a part.
Okay, then I lost two of the most important things in my life, which was sleep and a cup of coffee. Didn't seem that great to me. So
Oh, dear.
I feel like that had an effect on the way I was thinking.
Yeah.
I feel like somehow that sort of played into that
Oh, yes.
whole thing of just like,
Yep.
whoa, life is meaningless, because
Oh, wow. It got there.
it was like
Mhm.
hard to believe, but it was.
No, it's
Yeah.
not hard to believe at all. To be actually.
Like you had actually, I looked back in time and I would try to pick out like memories of things that I knew there had been emotion in there. And I looked back and I could not pull up that emotion.
Oh, yes.
It was unreal.
So listen, there's something happened because I got sick too, but it was after. Was it after I was with you or was it
Well,
before?
I think it was right after you were with me. I feel bad about that.
No, it wasn't from you. I'm quite certain.
Okay, good.
So I was subjected to a lot more sickness than you. I don't even remember you being sick while we were there.
Well,
But anyway, it played with my mind in ways that I haven't had my mind played with sickness before. So I don't know what.
Yeah.
There's something, and I don't seem to be the only one that happened to. I
Yeah.
had a bunch of weird stuff happen to me when I got sick. I had 3 things that happened to me that never happened to me when I got sick. So I found out this now. This is pretty common, but I got this weird muscle twitch.
okay.
It was very specific. It was right here. There was a muscle that would twitch, and I could feel it. And I would scratch it. I couldn't figure out what it was. And I thought I maybe had a pimple going on.
Yeah.
And then one time when it was going on, I looked in the mirror and you could see it.
Really?
And that was one thing that happened. I had some psychological things that were going on, like that was just, that's not very normal. And what was the third thing? Oh boy, I can't remember. But nevertheless, we were with Canadians a lot.
Okay.
And I think I'm quite certain that's where I got it from. And I thought to myself, I thought I could start another conspiracy theory, which is as follows. Them crazy Canadians are trying to kill their own population, so they're putting out these genetically modified sicknesses
Yep.
right before Christmas. Or no, probably, okay, I don't know who's doing it, but they're injecting this genetically modified sickness into these Canadians, and they're all going to come down to the United States for Christmas, a bunch of them, and we're going to get effed up down here.
Well, you're not the only conspirator, because I actually, not exactly the Canadians, I wasn't blaming the Canadians, but I was wondering who to blame, because I was suspicious that, yes, it was weird.
Very weird.
It was very odd. I had never experienced it. It was like, yeah.
Maybe it's just traces of. So maybe it's this. It could. At one point, like I even lost my taste for a while, which made me wonder if it had. Then I got to wondering if this thing had traces back to COVID somehow, which
Yeah.
I'm sure it does. Like
Yeah.
what I'm saying is, I'm sure whether it was mostly COVID or not, I don't know. But by this time, all disease, lots of like this type of sickness is influenced by COVID already.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it could be that, but anyway, so that was that it was crazy. Anyway, so back to your, I do find that fascinating that it makes you wonder how much your mindset was tied to the fact of the sickness. I didn't have anything that drastic happen though, but I have thought, like I have noticed that you've been having a lot of questions, and it's fascinating to me because it's not like I haven't been here before. It's not like I haven't had my questions, But you also mentioned this whole thing of praying for things and not having them answered. Now I don't know. You seem to know something about this, and I want to ask you about this because this is something that I'm interested in, but I don't understand. And this could take the conversation a little bit of a different place. But so people, a lot, I'm going to say most, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like most people experience this, especially maybe if they grew up religious, where they'll people will talk about having praying for something, it not being answered, and experiencing bitterness, which I'm sympathetic to, but not empathetic because it's not something I understand. And I'm not going to sit here and act like that I'm a better person for it, because the reason this is this way is because I don't have any expectations from God.
Yeah, right.
I don't expect anything from God. I don't, like, if I'm going to be completely honest about it, I don't ask God for really anything. I pray for like meals and stuff, but it's out of reverence, right?
Yeah.
I do believe, I have this sense that God exists, and I have reverence for a creator, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't have expectations. So I was wondering if you could share some insight with me, educate me, because I don't understand expecting things from God. But I know that my experience is more uncommon than yours, if assuming you have experienced this, because and it even goes back to the Bible. People in the Bible, I think, talked about wishing of God things and not having them, and experiencing an anger towards God. But I'm very curious about how have we come to expect things from God? This is fascinating to me. I don't know if you have any thoughts about this. Maybe this isn't a good question.
No,
Maybe
no,
it's too
no, that
general.
is, and that's a very interesting point, and I do not know. That is, it is interesting that we would expect something of God. So I don't like the idea of. I don't like it that we would. I don't like it that we would live without experiencing. I feel like that it's too if we take the experiences that God can do, God can give. So like I'm talking about fairly major events maybe, but I don't know how often that happens. But I feel like that I don't feel like it's right to like, with all respect to who God is, but if you're going to it kind of goes back to this thought, like if you're going to say that he blesses, that you're rich because he blessed you, then you've got to say that he cursed the one that isn't rich, or something down that
Yes,
line.
yes.
Like,
Oh, yes. I'm
and
with
so,
you there.
like, you kind of get into trouble with that
Yes.
whole thought. And yet, how do you keep him in the picture and yet remember that man sort of brought this on themselves? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, we are sort of under the curse, and so we're going to like sometimes we'd like to have, you know, all the pain and all the disappointment and all the sorrow taken out of life. So what do we want? Like, we just want, and yet that actually adds to the experience of life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you were just always happy, then how would you know? How would you feel? Like, on some level, that's all you would know. Well, the only reason you know true happiness is because you might know unhappiness, right? That's that's almost what Dostoevsky says. Actually, a quote that he says.
Yeah.
To know true happiness, you have to experience unhappiness, or something like that. I believe that's how he says it. But anyways, so then to understand what prayer does. And so if you're not going to pray specifically for something, how are you going to know if your prayer is answered if God doesn't care about the things you care about, what does he care about? And but like these are some of my thoughts. Like I'm just sticking it out there because I'm not saying that like that's maybe a little bit of bitterness in my own heart, like if you don't care about what I care about, then what do you care about?
Yep.
But and yet at the same time, like realizing that he's probably not going to just, I mean, life is what it is. It's going to happen. It's going to continue. But then you read in the Old Testament, and you'll read things about like there'll be the most interesting details put into stories that kind of leave you wondering, like, why did we put this in here? Like, why did we need to know that? Why did you need to know all of the, like around specifically Abraham, that that Sarah was good to look at, and so he said she was his sister. Well, why does he even talk about that? Why does he even bring that point up?
Yep.
Like, we're talking about a story that was written, what, 400 years or 300 plus years after the happening by someone that was not even, like, I don't know if that story, I do not know that was written down. Maybe it was, I don't know. Maybe Moses went back and read through a bunch of history and put this down. But like, why that stuff was put into there is baffling, or you talk about Jacob, or you talk about, like, expecting something from God. And he did. He expected, I'm not sure what it was, but in the end, after he wrestled with the angel there, he said, I'm just not going to let you go until I get a blessing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I don't know if that, did we just quit having those kind of relationships with God? In the New Testament, like, that's all in the past. Did God want to have that relationship with people? Is that what he wanted? To show, like, how many people really are able to just read the New Testament and just be totally okay with miracles that were written down 2,000 years ago, and just be okay with the fact that they happened just like they said they did. I'm good with it. I'm good with it from, a faith standpoint, that you believe it because it makes you believe that Jesus was who he said he was. But yet Job could not really know who God was until he had experienced what he experienced.
Oh.
And so here we are today. And can you just read the Old Testament or New Testament, the Bible, just take it for what it is, and then it changes your life? Well, probably not. You might just have to have some life's experience to be able to get to the same place that Job did.
Yeah, but you're making the case that some people had the privilege of just having a miracle happen, and some people have to go through hard things.
Well, yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Well,
yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, today, here we are, and each of us for us to really, I don't know if we all see God the same way. No, for sure not, but for us to see him like we need to see him to make a difference in our own lives, what kind of an experience do we have to have? And so on some level, we'd all like to have that definite experience, like, and yet if God was constantly doing something for someone, how would you feel about that person? Like, if they were constantly talking about how God was doing this for them, you'd kind of be like, just a minute now, I'm not getting that same vibe,
Oh yeah.
A little bit. Like, maybe it'd leave you just a little, maybe it wouldn't be the best thing, for anybody's faith. I mean, if one, and I don't know that God singles out or doesn't single out, he may, certain people to perform certain miracles. But so anyways, this thing about prayer is kind of interesting. Andrew Clavin had somebody he talked to and said, this man, he, because Andrew prays a lot.
Okay.
I mean, he believes in prayer, so in some ways, and I don't know to what extent, but he does believe in prayer. And so he had this man on that was sort of like kind of new to Christianity. I mean, he just kind of
okay.
accepted it to a point in his later years. He was a scientist, I believe, and so he asked him. Andrew asked him. He said, "Do you pray regularly then?" And the man said, "No." He said, "I tried it one time." Well, actually, this is what he said. He said, "I should pray more often." Well, that's an interesting statement.
Yes,
we
it
feel
is.
like we should pray more often.
Yep.
Like, maybe all of us would say that. I don't know, but that's interesting that we that we would say that. I should pray more often. Anyways, he said I should. And Andrew was not putting him on the spot. It was just like, he just
question.
yeah. And the guy admitted this, but then he said, "I tried it once," and he said, and it was a simple thing. It was like he was worried about an upcoming event or something that needed to happen, and he said over the period of a couple days, his anxiety totally disappeared, and he said it kind of scared him at how prayer actually worked.
Oh, fascinating.
Yeah, I thought that was very interesting.
Man, that's interesting because I'm just thinking about this now. I don't pray a lot either. Dang. I don't pray a lot either, but it isn't that it doesn't work. I don't know that it's scared. So I've never prayed that much. But, and I've even said this sort of publicly at times, at which point I drew attention to myself through different conversations. People brought this up, even sort of questioning, I think they had some real questions about me as a Christian, which is fine, but and it's not, and interestingly enough, it's not like I feel like I should pray and I resist it. I just don't really have, I don't even really have the urge to pray. Even
So,
when
yeah,
things
like-
don't go well, I just like, well, I mean, it just is what it is. But anyway, so, however, I'm fascinated with the idea of prayer, this idea that you can talk to the Creator. And so I've experimented with it, and it has worked. I've experiencing maybe great amounts of anxiety over an event, and then praying and saying, "God, look, I need," just letting go of that and giving it to God. That worked.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I found that as an interesting observation, and I did it a couple of times, and it worked. Well, but I haven't done it recently. But it was a season of life where I did that.
Yeah.
So that's sort of my relationship with prayer. I don't know what would happen if had I prayed that prayer and it hadn't worked. I think I wouldn't even remember the event. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know, because I don't remember a time in later years. I don't remember having prayed it and not being answered.
Yeah. So where was I just reading or thinking about this, that we are, like, so many of us are looking for something, a big experience or something major to happen, like, I don't know if you would feel that you are so much, and yet in some way that's what we would like. We would like something major to happen. in our lives. And I don't know that we're saying it this way, like, I'll believe God if this is what happens. Sort of like,
That's what I was wondering.
like, I don't know. I wonder if that's the feeling, rather than like, it's interesting that, and this honestly, it seems to me like the whole way we view prayer and the way we experience it is going to be somewhat based on our upbringing, or our childhood and our experiences that we've already had in life, right? And like, because if a person had, like, if real life was, so yeah, very simple example, but if you're always like, with your children, you say, okay, I'll give you such and such if you do this. Does that make you, later on in life, you pray to God and you're like, God, I'll do this for you, you do this for me, type of deal? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, we sort of is that where we start to use God as a power that we don't have, to our own advantage? Maybe would that be how it is?
Is there
I don't know.
is there
Yeah.
this idea in the Bible? I've heard this somewhere, sort of this phrase: we pray and we ask amiss.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there would be.
So
Yeah.
that's an interesting idea to me, because I recently I saw this. To be absolutely honest about it, I seen this bit on an Instagram reel about prayer. You maybe I don't know if you.
No. Yeah.
He said, do you scroll Instagram,
Some.
that death trap?
Some.
Okay,
But
so listen.
Not very much.
I saw this on there, and the guy goes, when you pray for patience, do you really think God's going to give you patience? Or is he going to give you the opportunity to be patient? And that hit me, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. So, because then you talked about, asking for something big, because if something big happens, then I'll believe. Or you could actually ask for what you wanted. Because so for example, I might be feeling I've got this problem going on. Say I've got I don't know, some event. Some event in your life is happening and you're like, oh, I just need answers for this. Well, if you take it all the way back down and you ask yourself, or if I ask myself, look, why do I want this? Why do I want this? And the answer is often, I want to have a sense of meaning in my life, and this is standing between me and my sense of meaning. And what you want is to feel purpose. So what happens if you prayed for that? Because okay, look, we don't know this, but like if I ask for if I ask for the opportunity to be this particular event in my life to go away.
Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm.
Does God say, oh yeah, the reason he wants that to go away is he's lacking sense of purpose. So what I'm going to do is give him an event that's going to give him an opportunity to find purpose in his life. I don't know how he works. But if we ask amiss, I don't know. This is just an interesting sort of way of looking at it that has come to me recently about prayer. I don't know.
So Yeah, because our how many times I've been thinking about that a little bit too, like about our this is sort of ties in with that thought just a little bit, but thinking about um our personality. So our personality is not going to, like, some of those things you're even referring to, like some personalities lack patience or um
Okay.
you know, but but so then is that what we're wanting? We're wanting a complete personality change. I don't know what that would even look like to have a personality change, but but like rather, instead of wanting something just entirely different, how do you rather just be okay with who you are and with your personality, and yet, like, definitely improve it if you can, I mean, it is, yeah, somebody that is um like, it has no effect on you, on who you are and who you're with, if you are, if you can, if you're really truly thoughtful of somebody else, like, that's interesting that it it doesn't, like, people don't even view you as, like, they don't care who you're hanging out with, if that's the personality that you are, or if you are, like, if that personality trait, if you would, like, improve on it or whatever, like, you know use it, to be thoughtful and be kind or whatever, those kind of things, like, they're always universally recognized as somebody that you want as your friend, right? Anyways, um but it seems like that a person can still have a little bit of an argument in your mind when you think about praying for things, and the fact that you care about certain things, and knowing that God cares about those things too, and yet it taking
Mm.
years for something to, for you to, I feel like that, I don't know if you should be able to, I don't know if you should continue to look for an answer to prayer, or I don't know if that'd be a good thing or not. But it seems like that there would be some value in that. Like, if you prayed for something, that you would continue to look. I mean, that maybe, that even if it did take years for that to come about, that would come back to you, and you'd be like, okay, that was an answer to prayer, even though it was, like, I guess that's the part that's kind of intriguing to me, is that God, it's hard to, it's really kind of hard to accept the fact that he's always right, and that he sees the whole picture, and then, you know so no matter how controversial sometimes the Old Testament even looks when you read it, and it doesn't fully make sense when you read the Old Testament coupled with the New Testament, and I don't know that they're necessarily contradictory, although love is the theme, right? I mean, love was the theme of the Old Testament, love is the theme of the New Testament to some extent, and yet we know that the law was,
Hold on, say that again. The love was the theme of the Old Testament and
well,
the New
I
Testament.
say that, but it is. I mean, Jesus said it was. He
Yeah.
said, he said, all the laws of the prophets hang on these two laws. which was love.
Mm-hmm.
So I made that comment that that God tried to show people, or he wanted people to learn to love through the law. The law was to show them how to love. I don't know if that's right
I
or
don't
not.
know either.
I'm just
I
putting
know
that thought out there. I'm
that
not
is
going with that.
interesting because I've heard this idea that the theme of the Old Testament was judgment, was
Okay.
to show the judgment of God, and the New Testament was show the love of God.
Okay.
I
Yes.
don't. I'm not really invested in this particular.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. I mean, what you said there that Jesus. I mean, obviously, not obviously, but Jesus said that what he was preaching wasn't.
Controversial
Wasn't
or
yeah,
different.
it wasn't something separate
Right.
from the what he was preaching wasn't something separate from the Old Testament.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. So I one of the things is I don't what I what how do I say this? The way I view the old okay, maybe I should ask this instead. So I don't find the Old Testament and the New Testament. I don't find the Old Testament to be punishing, but yet. I mean, what I'm saying is, I don't. I'm not diminishing the fact that people do find it punishing, but I sort of am sympathetic to that view. I mean, a lot of harsh stuff. However, now this might be considered heresy, what I'm about to say, but my perception of the Bible is that it's humanity's effort to understand the heart of God. And that's why it was written. It was an effort for it was a human effort to understand the heart of God. I mean, God nor Jesus wrote down anything. When I realized that that's how I thought about it, it cleared a lot of things up for me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, imagine that you were in the Old Testament and you came to the realization that you are conscious and I am in it. Like, so these people didn't have the Bible, man. They didn't have nothing.
Right.
Yet, but they don't understand science. They didn't think scientifically in the least. And so they were trying to understand the nature of whoever's intention they were. Like they perceived that a consciousness somewhere created them. And they tried to understand that. Like you even, and I find, so from that standpoint, I find the Old Testament so fascinating. Even so, one of the recent lines that I've come across or been thinking about is when Moses asked God, and he said, what the I am who I am.
Mm-hmm.
What did God ask, or what did Moses ask God, and that was his answer? He asked him, whom do I say that sent me?
Yeah, when he was going to go to the Egyptians and who he was going to tell why he was there. What was his purpose for being there? Yeah.
And he said, I am what I am. I don't know exactly what that means, but one of the things that struck me is that so what he was was an idea. That's all he was to those people, was an idea. No, it wasn't just an idea. But he wasn't real. He was a figment. This sounds like I'm desecrating God, but I'm not. So, but what he was saying is that I am a figment of your imagination. I am something that you have created. I am an ideal. And that is what I am. I'm not, it's almost seemed to me that he was saying that rest in the knowledge of who you know that I am.
Yeah.
Because that's what I am. That was a sort of fascinating line for me. But anyway, so when Moses wrote that, assuming he wrote it or assuming he assembled it, it was his effort to understand all that had happened that led him up to the position where he was. And, maybe maybe some of them stories sound so judgmental, but that's how they understood it at that time. And I'm not suggesting that that's not actually what God meant, but, I'm not here to get in an argument about that. But I think that it was probably how they understood it at that time.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
and as time went on, we came to the then Jesus inevitably came along, and he continued that and helped us to understand who the Creator is, the heart of the Creator. So from that standpoint, if you think about, I guess if you're a bit of a cynic, you could say, well, that's not very fair to the Old Testament people. Well, I don't know. I don't have many qualms about that, I guess. I don't know. I mean, in one way, it's not fair to me because the people in the future will understand. So here's something even more controversial. Why did we stop writing the Bible?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my question.
But
It's just, that book is I'm not diminishing it, but it's a history book. And somehow we just all of a sudden decided we should stop writing it. Is like, really? I mean, ever since that day, the written word is everywhere now. And so maybe the Bible is continuing to be written. That's certainly possible. I mean, some people have made the case that the internet is the Bible now, which is a crazy idea. But it's not, when you think about it, it's not ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because it's sort of true. It has documented our effort to understand the creation now. Maybe not so much the Creator, but we've started to try to understand the creation. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And that so going back to that then, like, the Bible is only 2,000 years of history, something like that. At the most.
Okay, so hold on a minute.
I mean, it is. The first 6 chapters of Genesis are 2,000 years, and then beyond that, then it covers 2,000.
Oh, I see. Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I know there was extra 2,000 there, but they're not written about.
Right. Yep.
The only thing that's said about those years is that God actually looked at that and he wished he hadn't made it.
Yes.
How does that strike you?
Go
ahead. What were you going to say?
I don't know.
But anyways, I mean, talk about trying to understand God.
Yes.
And then he totally just started the whole thing over. And immediately, he started working towards the end goal, which was Jesus. Like, immediately. I mean, he said this, there was Noah, and then his sons, and this is and this is the generation, here's Abraham.
Yes.
just went right into it, just like, here's Abraham, and then nothing more said. And then Abraham was so interesting because he was, I don't think it was actually Abraham. God showed Abraham the country that he was going to be able, the country that his inheritance or his children, his offspring
Yep.
would have. But then later it was either Isaac or Jacob where I think it was, one of them. I cannot remember which one. He actually said, this is what I'm going to give you, but not right now. So just keep going. Just interesting how that worked. But then one more thing about Abraham yet, and that was that account where God was going to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, and he said, he looked at him. I mean, those three men, they were like, or God said, am I actually going to, like, this is a close friend of mine. Am I going to keep I'm going to keep secret about this whole deal? What's going to happen, And once again, it kind of just says something about God. And I feel like that, well, even then, the part that's kind of becoming more impressive to me as I think about, like, who God really is, and that is that he brought the children of Israel out of Egypt, but instead of just like, what was it, a week's journey,
Forever.
He just sent them through here, but he didn't leave them. Like, he didn't just leave them in the wilderness.
Right.
He was just like there the whole time.
Oh yeah.
Taking care of them. Like, and that's the thing that's kind of interesting, like, to view, like, God is not just leaving us. Like, yeah, we get started on our journey, and then whatever, life comes and goes and things happen the way they happen. But God isn't just leaving you alone. Like, he's actually there and interested in your life, and I suppose ultimately interested in your happiness. Is that right? Sometimes we wonder, but isn't that what he's ultimately interested in, is our happiness? I mean, that we really rebel at that sometimes, because we hear that said, that God wants us to be happy, and yet sometimes we have to face the music and we're not actually happy, maybe.
Yeah, and unless it's the case that he simply set it up to where we are rewarded with meaning and happiness when we're on the right track. I don't know. I mean, that's sort of how it strikes me.
Yeah.
Is that, I mean, it seems to be, if there's, I don't know what the greatest impetus of the New Testament is, but it seems to be something like, that a person should spend his life separating the wheat from the chaff in his life. Back to your talking about sort of repairing your personality thing. It seems to be the case that the refining fire, or the whatever that is, the growing, that seems to be the biggest thing, is that his emphasis is that we grow. And then it seems to be the case that when we find that the place he wants us to be is on the line between sort of giving proper respect to the order that our lives sit on, the work that's been done before us, the things that God has told us, having that as a foundation and going forward, finding that line between that and growth. The frontier. And like, because if you just lean on the old, you stagnate, right?
Yeah, right.
But if you go into the new, and if you just look forward and you don't give any respect to the foundations, you end up crazy. You know, you get it's chaotic. So, and then when you find that perfect line, there seems to be a reward that we experience, a sense of purpose, a sense of meaning. What my purpose is in life, and my purpose is to give respect, to worship God, and to look forward. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I've wondered because I don't claim to have any kind of understanding about, or I don't claim to fully understand the way things are, but it does seem to be the case that religion gives people that old to rest on. At the same time, it seems like it gives people the opportunity to just lean on that, all the weight on that leg.
Yeah.
And when that happens, it looks to me like people start to get in these quagmires. I'm one of those. I've been there. You know, like I definitely went through a stage where, what the heck is the meaning of all this? You tell me to do this, but you can't tell me why.
Yeah.
Shut up! And then you ask the questions, and so you ask the
Yeah.
questions, and you see people's reactions, and they're like, they just go blank. It seemed like I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to say that everybody is at some point called to go there, because I don't know this. I don't have a sense of that. But at the same time, it does. Before we go there, our life seems very circular. We struggle with the same things forever.
Mm-hmm.
And when you don't see any meaningful amount of growth. I mean, I hate to be that guy, but I'm just going to say it. You see people who are stuck in religion, and you don't see any meaningful amount of growth in their life. Do you follow me?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
So,
I think. Yep.
Now, why am I saying this? I don't know. Back to finding purpose. I do think that the Bible sort of lays that out about the path to finding purpose. But the path to finding purpose also involves other people. And it seems to be helping other people to find that place.
So, there's kind of an interesting thing I'd started thinking about too, along with that. I think it would tie in with that thought, but that is the part of, so there's two thoughts. One of them is that our love for God is our primary form of worship. And that's just like something we can think about. Our love for God is our primary form of worship. And then so maybe if a person dissected that and actually applied it to like what you like about certain things, those things that kind of get you going, get you excited about life, whatever it might be,
sort of like your
Is that,
interests.
yeah, is that a form of worship? I don't know. But anyways,
Boy, howdy, yeah.
I'm going to leave that where it's at. I'm not saying it is or isn't. I'm just saying how in depth is that? Anyways, but then okay, along with that thought, so I think this is something that I've started to really kind of think about, and that is that we are so we love God loved us. This is the irony of this whole prayer, getting what I want, and yet what God, who He is. So some people want God to remain who he is and yet give them what they want. And yet God, that would completely defeat who God was, because God is the one that actually leaves us alone.
Yes.
So is there something to learn from that part that God loves us, and gives us a choice to love him back? And then what I mean by that is there something to learn in our human relationships, that we love people and we give them the choice to love us back? But I say that God is the only one that can continue to love without receiving love back. And it has no effect on him. If we don't love him back, it does not affect who he is. If we don't get love back, it starts to affect who we are, right? Or it starts to have an effect on us because we want that returned. And yet, it's a little bit like Jesus said, like anybody can love the people that love them.
Oh, yes, yes.
But take it a step further and love somebody that's unlovable and get rejected by that love.
Does he love what we can be? So, because I actually tend to think, or at least I tend to entertain the idea that that's attainable to us, to truly love everyone. But I'm curious what you think about this. It strikes me that a pure love for people is to love what they can be, is to love their potential. Now, that can be whatever, because if you can say, well, I love your potential, therefore I'm going to deeply criticize you. Well, the facts of the matter are, if you truly love them, because if you understand human nature, you know that is not the most effective way to find this person's potential. So if you truly criticize them, or if you just are hard on them, you don't love their potential, because that's not the best path.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you're saying.
So
yeah.
That strikes me as possible, though.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying I've attained this, but I've recently began to get a vision. This is interesting. So, one of the things I'm working on right now, personally, is I suppose trying to figure out I've been working on trying to understand where my interests intersect with the need of the world that I see. And one of the exercises in doing this is, oh boy, I'm starting to lose my thoughts here. Imagine the climactic scenes in your future. What is a climactic scene you see in your life that you want? And this is sort of in the steps to understanding what's the legacy I want to leave. And I've talked about this before, but one of the climactic scenes of my life is having on this podcast the person I disagree with the most. Okay. And experiencing no uptick in heart rate, and being able to just genuinely stay calm and listen and understand their perspective. And to me, that's love. That might be the love that Jesus wants for us. Or not. Or, sorry, that's the love that Jesus suggested was possible. Tell me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that thought. That's a very interesting thought. And it would be interesting how would that, I wonder how that would look, because on some level, if someone was disagreeable to your point of view, then you would have a hard time it'd be hard to see their point of view, wouldn't it? If you completely disagree with their point of view, it seems like it would be hard to not come across that way, that I don't agree with your point of view. But that would be interesting.
Well, one of the things that happens is when you get in a conversation is that this is one of the darkest conversations you can be in. To me, I mean, this is how I imagine it. Is when you have like a conversation about ideas with a person who's sort of attacking you as a person. That's difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's hard to navigate. Like, but I tend to think there's a way of conducting that conversation to where we shifted away from attacks to where we're conversing about ideas.
Yeah.
Once you can converse about ideas and you can say, I've got this idea. Here's an interesting idea I've been having. And then you would say, I disagree with this idea. And I would say, oh, interesting. Tell me more.
Yeah, right.
So then you can have a conversation about ideas. And I found that often too, if you can simply get someone to tell their story.
So how do you, this is interesting. So over Christmas, we were, together with the family, and there was someone in the family. We were, I think we always tend to try to get our point across to them. And kind of with good reason. Seems justifiable.
Yeah.
Anyways, but with what you're saying, then at some point later on, then one of my brothers was saying, really what we're doing is we are pushing these people to agree with us. That's what we're trying to get them to say. We're trying to get them to say,
Mm-hmm.
yes, I agree with you, or yes, like you're right, instead of taking the Chris Voss approach of getting a that's right instead of a yes, because a yes is an outright no. I was intrigued that when I seen what I was trying to do, like not even realizing that that's what I was shooting for. I was totally shooting for that yes. I was totally trying to push that person into saying yes and agreeing with me, instead of getting them, like, you get nowhere in that conversation.
Right.
You both leave that conversation and you have not achieved your goal at all. And so really it was intriguing to me to think about it that way, and to try a totally different approach. Like, yeah, rather go for a that's right, or a, you have to be you got to change your mindset almost. So when you have someone that, like, on some level, the conversation, it just, like, in some ways you don't even want to have the conversation because it's so limited on capacity even, so then what do you do to get where you want to go, or to even, like, even to help them or believe that you are hearing them, and yet maybe subtly telling them that you don't agree, like they're missing some key points to why they think their life is worse off than the next person's, but how do you help that person realize that yes, I'm hearing you, and yet I don't think you're quite right on this deal.
Yes. Look, I'm out of coffee. Do you want to get a beer? One of them. I need one of those. I had to go and buy me something. Diet Bundaberg. You want one?
Yeah, I do. A few years ago, you were going to start selling hay.
Yep.
I don't know what happened to it.
Yeah. What? I couldn't. despite my best efforts, I couldn't get it off the ground in a way that satisfied me.
Yeah.
Like, and well, one of the reasons is that my I didn't understand the way Haymarket at the time. I didn't understand the way Haymarkets work enough, and how volatile it is, and it just I still sort of have it sort of still sort of fascinates me, but I just don't know. Yeah, it just I don't know. I don't even know if I have a good explanation for why it didn't work. Every well, maybe I should have done it, push it harder, because everybody I talked to told me it wouldn't work.
They told you it wouldn't work.
Yes,
Okay.
and that's typically that's what a lot of guys say when they really skyrocket to the moon. Everyone told them it wouldn't work,
Yeah.
but I genuinely couldn't figure out a way to actually make it work. I thought it was
Yeah.
going to be a lot easier, or I thought it was going to be easier. But one error I made is I did not research it enough. Like, try to find someone who was doing what I wanted to do, and just like really scope out the market before I get started.
Yeah.
And up to that point, I'd had a lot of success with selling hay, my own hay, dad's hay. It wasn't hard. I just did it. I thought,
Yeah.
well, geez, I might just well.
Sell other people's.
I was mistaken.
It's funny.
I had just sort of started in a time where it wasn't that difficult to sell hay.
Yeah.
Up until that point.
Oh, and then
It-
and then like you got in at the wrong time. I mean, without knowing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you were in it. I totally understand that, because that's like the farming cycle
Yeah.
for some people, or ranching, or whatever it might be. Yeah, that's interesting. But back to this. So then back to that. Back to the stock market. I wonder if what would interest me with it might be just a little bit different than what interests you with it. Like,
Probably.
I'm not a trader. I wouldn't think of it as a trade, except that I would be fascinated with the idea of trading. I would be interested in the idea of trading simply because you could take a certain amount of money and trade it and continue to create a snowball effect.
Yep.
And I don't know if that's even possible, actually, in the stock market.
Yeah.
I don't know if it is. I think I've kind of thought maybe it might be possible, but I don't know if it is.
Well, there are people who have done it.
Okay.
There's this guy. Oh boy. Oh man, this ain't good because I forget his name. I'll have to just tell you later if I try to look it up. But there's this dude who has spent he's made his money trading the S&P 500.
Okay.
Like he just trades the S&P 500, and it's where he makes his money. So that fascinates me.
Yeah.
But I don't. The idea of the snowball effect, I'm with you on that. Like, invest your money, like do a bunch of research, like Warren Buffett style. Do a bunch of research, understand a sector of the market, and then enter when the stock is cheap.
Yeah.
Enter into it like he started where he started with like small companies, but then he come upon Munger, and was like, dude, this ain't sustainable. We're gonna have to go to the big companies. And so they started doing it with the big companies where they just buy in at when the stocks were cheap, and then that was how they were going to scale. Well, and then that's what I mean. That sucker snowballed, But
Yeah.
but so that to me, I can understand that. But with trading, I don't know where the money's coming from, and that's the thing that bothers me. Like you're basically, if you're a winner at trading, your money's coming from the losers at trading. You're not actually taking the money from the company itself.
Yeah, sure.
And I'm just like, is that like, does that actually serve
Yeah. No,
my mission in life?
that's true.
And this doesn't seem to bother
'Cause you-
everybody, but it bothers
Yeah,
me.
you didn't just walk. I understand that. You didn't just buy in and grow with the company. I mean, your investments
Right.
grew with the company. That's
I mean,
interesting.
if you think about it from an investment standpoint, you put a bunch of money into a company and you trust that they have the ability. You're giving them the trust that they have the ability to take this money and to increase their productivity with it. Does that make any kind of
Yeah,
sense?
right.
And then you obviously then get the benefit of their work,
Yeah,
and you're basically
Right.
rewarded for your belief or trust in them and in the model that they've created, if that makes any kind of sense. And you know, I'm fascinated by that. However, I don't know if that is my, back to the sort of mission statement thing. I still don't know if it optimally serves my mission in life.
yeah.
I
true.
mean, I'm fascinated with it, but I don't know if I'm that fascinated with it. But then I've been thinking about that, but I've always liked cattle. I don't know enough about it, but the numbers of cattle. So cows themselves fascinate me. They terrify me, but they fascinate me. And the whole cattle trading thing. Like if I was going to trade, I would trade cattle. I think that could be pretty fun.
Yeah.
Like these guys that sit in this, like, I don't know if there's. Are you familiar? You're familiar with Bud Williams?
Yeah,
That's sort of
right,
what he
yeah.
did. He'd just sit in the
Right.
auction sale every day, and he would buy the stuff that was, cheap,
Yeah,
for lack of better words. Now that's figuring out what cheap cattle is by no means a simple thing. Like it might be as much of an art as a science. I'm not sure. I mean, it is a numbers game,
yeah,
but your eyes aren't necessarily giving you scientific information when you're looking at that cow in the ring. It's something in your gut too. Anyway, and that fascinates me. Things that fall on the line between science and art fascinate me.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
Anyway, but so I don't know. But yeah, so I'm fascinated by Warren Buffett because of his emphasis in, like, just listening to him. You know, this man understands economics like nobody else.
So
Maybe not nobody else, but maybe like nobody else.
yeah,
Like even the way, like even just like the national economy, the way the government works, the Federal Reserve, the Treasury,
yeah,
way all this works, and the way all of America, all the business, all that, how all that works together, and his understanding of that is just like, I admire that. Somebody's got the discipline to sort of put in the effort to wrap their mind around it, toward they, and I mean this this word in the deepest sense, understand it.
yeah.
To understand something like that is crazy. Anyway,
Okay, so you don't. So did he do the exact same thing as what you're saying? I mean, I know that it's not. I don't know that you would say that there's science and art in stocks, in buying stocks.
oh, I bet there. I
Okay.
think there is.
Okay, well, that's what I was curious about. But so, he did exactly the same thing. He followed his gut probably on what he put his money into, and so I'm curious, like, 'cause there's a lot of talk right now that the stock market is sort of probably, what did they say, overvalued?
Yeah.
But Warren Buffett says, again, one of his quotes was, what was it? Wasn't it, when others are greedy, be cautious, and when others are cautious, be greedy?
Yep.
And J.P. Morgan is another one I've seen a quote from. He was a very unique individual. The guy seen opportunity in failing businesses.
Yep.
And that's what he bought. And he turned them around, turned them into. That is unbelievably intriguing.
Yes.
The idea of recognizing opportunity. There was something he said here that I thought was I actually held it because I thought it was so interesting. He says nothing so undermines your financial judgment as a sight of your neighbor getting rich. That was it.
Yes.
Yeah, J.P. Morgan said that. Anyways, and that is so interesting when you look around you and you see somebody
Yep.
making a go of it, and you're like, I should do that.
If you can somehow transcend that, you will get richer than unreal.
I just like I can't believe how many times I do that and I see that and then but I still would like to be able to, I would like to put numbers to the idea of investing. Here's the deal. I think that Warren Buffett, this is where I'm coming back to because this was my thought originally. So you're saying that you see something in that cow that would maybe potential, or I'm not
Yep.
exactly sure what word you
Yep.
use there, but and I think that's what Warren Buffett, he said, look, I believe in this company and I'm going to buy into it. I'm going to buy into that belief. And it'd be interesting though to know how many of them didn't work out.
Oh, there was definitely
Possibly had some that
some.
didn't.
Oh, definitely.
You know what I'm
He'll
saying?
tell you about them.
Yeah. So that would be interesting to know, where he thought something was going to work and then it absolutely didn't. But it would be interesting also to know. So even irregardless of where the stock market's headed, if you're in it for the long haul and not trading, it really makes no difference.
Right.
Like you can totally keep buying right through the low.
Highs and the lows.
Yes, you can just buy right through, and over a 20-year period, if that stock has returned 10% in the last 30 years consistently, it may continue that. I mean, that seems like a pretty good trend, and it would very likely continue that trend if you just stayed with it
Yeah.
for another 30 years. Well, even that's not very much. I mean, 10, 15 would be nice, or maybe 20.
Yeah.
But if you could get 15%, but then if that's what you're needing is 15% and you were only investing $1,000 a year even, doesn't give you enough to really do anything with over time. So do you need to look at it differently?
Well, I don't know if Buffett would be a condoner though of like buying Coca-Cola, right? Well, I don't know where Coca-Cola is, but like let's say Coca-Cola isn't cheap right now. Even though it's because it goes like this here. Would he suggest you just buy Coca-Cola now, or do you wait till it's cheap and then dump in?
Yeah.
If like you find a stable company, wait till it's cheap, then go in.
Yeah.
But I do think that there are probably companies out there right now that are undervalued. Like, not to give away my secrets. For example, something like Procter and Gamble isn't exactly. I haven't done all the analysis on it, but like something like Procter and Gamble right now isn't up. ConAgra Foods isn't up. There's another one. Darn it, I can't remember which one it is. But anyway, these are food service companies, and well, right now, all the attention is going to these to the AI.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but there's people suspecting that there's an AI bubble, but we don't know. right. We don't. It depends on how far away. AGI is how far away AGI is. We just don't know that. I mean, if we reach AGI in the next year, it might not be a bubble. But some people suspect that that's still 10 years out, and so that it's good anyway. But if the AI bubble bursts, there's there's a little bit of speculation out there that some of these others are going to. So right now, like Procter and Gamble's a long old company, and they've got pretty decent dividends. Probably not a bad move right now.
Mm-hmm.
So even though the stock market, like the S&P, is overvalued right now, there are some companies out there I think that probably are worth investing in. I think that's probably true. However, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Buffett said though in the 2024, was it 2024 stockholders meeting, or I think so maybe. If he had to start over again with $1 million, he'd go find a company that would give him 50% in a year. That's a lot.
That's a lot. But so what are you saying? How would I mean?
Well, it almost implied to me that. So one of the things he said, that now that he's so big, like when he didn't have as much money,
yeah, he didn't have it
he had
to work
way
with.
more. He had way more ideas than money.
Yeah, yeah,
And now he's got way more money than money. Like he's wielding such a massive
Right.
investment that it's hard to find companies that can make any measurable difference in what they're doing, right?
yeah, yeah.
So in one way, he acted like, for the small guy, in one way, it's easier.
No, sure. Yeah, no,
And he suspected, like, there's probably some company out there right now that's cheap, that's undervalued. I mean, there obviously is,
yeah,
but which one is it, and to find it?
yeah. No, that's intriguing because the so like some of these, so a rancher that has 800 head of cows, he's going to look at there was actually a lot of ranchers did this last year. They sold early summer because they were afraid the market was going to
Tank.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that what will happen to me yet will actually work out, but the potential is a lot better for me because I absolutely didn't have hardly anything to lose. I didn't have much gain, but I didn't have a lot to lose either. So it gave me that option to risk.
So you sold?
No, I didn't. I still have mine.
Oh, you
I can
do?
sell at this. I can sell at the market that it is right now, and I don't have any hedge, any LRP, or anything on them because I didn't have enough to really make a difference.
Yeah.
Well, that's the kind of deal. That's the kind of if you can do that in a stocks.
Exactly.
With stocks, you're not gonna you're willing. You take the risk because you're so small.
Yep.
That it really doesn't make that much difference. And then you have more potential, upside potential. But I still am just intrigued with the idea of realizing when it's time to change your mindset to, okay, now we've got to invest differently because we flat out have more to invest with. So we've got to take a different approach now.
Yep,
you know what I'm saying? Like
yep.
I'm intrigued with that idea, that whole thought of, and I
Yep.
don't think a person realizes it in time.
Mm-hmm.
And so you don't utilize that aspect to its full potential and you miss opportunities.
So with this stock market thing, do you, and you're a cattleman, does the idea that they're like, yesterday, cattle sold in Belle Fourche that were undervalued, that you could have invested in, held for 30 days, and sold, and made bank. Does that fascinate? Does that interest you in the least? Because I mean, because it does me but it does me because I sort of parallel it to the stock market thing. Now, no, I'm not saying one's better than the other,
Right.
but you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, the only thing that part interests me. It would interest me a lot if things were like, if I had things fully in place to
We'll take care of them.
take care of that,
Yeah.
it would interest me. But that's not really, it takes work,
Yep.
a lot of physical work. And so if that's going to be the case, then I'm not interested. It's way easier.
To just throw your money at stock.
Yeah. To
Yep.
put a little money in stocks. And we're talking good lands. How much more potential? I mean, this is actually intriguing. So people are willing to invest more than that, $250,000 into one load of cattle or whatever. I mean, maybe it maybe wouldn't be quite that much.
I think say what it was. I wonder how much.
Bred heifers at $4,000 a head.
I forget how many you can get on a load.
Like, you might do 60 on
60 bred heifers on a load?
Well, a big load.
How much do they weigh? How much does a bred heifer weigh?
Well, anywhere from 900 to 1,200.
Oh,
So,
yeah, okay.
I mean, 60 would be pushing it, but I'm
55
saying
55 to
50 to 60.
Yep.
Yeah, because you're going to get 45 big
yeah,
cows.
that's 250.
You know. Yeah. So what I'm saying is you take that number, and people are totally willing to invest that. And there is a ton of risk in that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's more risk in that, almost, than in stocks. Because here's my reasoning: you have a live critter
Yep.
that is your only value,
Yep.
and totally dependent on life. So
Yep.
if you lose it, I mean, it's gone.
Yep.
It's not recoverable.
Right.
Absolutely not recoverable. So if you could invest that, so is there more upside potential?
Yeah, that was my next question. So if there's more risk, is there more upside? Is it basically just like a riskier stock?
I don't know, because it's so terribly easy to look back at history and say, if I would have done this, here's where I'd be today.
I do think cattle is more like trading than investing, admittedly.
Yeah.
Like when you so see, that is a little different. It's because when you trade stocks, if you're a trader, you're actually looking at all you're looking at is you're trying to figure out when the market does this, who has to do what, and that's how you make your play when you're trading, and not how you do with cattle.
Right.
You're just looking for cheap cattle, something you can improve, and then you move. So when trading cattle, it's more like investments in stocks. So it's not a 1-to-1 ratio, really. But anyway.
That's interesting, yeah, that you say that's more like trading than investing. And I agree with you, because...
Well, it's just that what I mean is trading is short term.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you're saying. And I think I would actually rather be an investor. That's what's interesting. So maybe that's why cattle isn't the best thing for me, because I can tend to just like hang on to a critter forever. And at what point do you sell? Like, I'm in this cycle now where it's like I got cows that I bought in 2016 when we moved here. And
oh, wow. You
and
have had them a while.
So they've given me, like, what is this going to be, their 10th or 11th calf? I'm not sure which one. But anyways, and you can get 12 calves out of a cow, but they're broken mouth cows. They are becoming the lowest priced
animals, yep.
Critter. So at what point, like, the only way for that cow, I mean, she's totally made me money, okay? Because I bought her for $1,150, you know?
Yeah.
So I've paid her off multiple times. I mean,
subtracting your
right.
expenses. And
yes. I mean, obviously they had to pay for a percentage of the critters that didn't pan out. So you
Yeah.
end up selling a percentage that just didn't work out. And then you end up with just a handful left out of that group,
Yeah.
and I don't even know what that percentage would be. But at the same time, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to sell beef,
Yep.
right? And yet I'm in this really bad cycle because I've got soft feed. I've got ground hay and silage. I can feed broken mouth cows.
Oh yeah.
I can make broken mouth cows fat. So it's kind of a weird cycle because it's like, why wouldn't I be the one to hold on to the broken mouth cows?
Oh yeah.
Because I can feed them,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay, but then you breed them again, and then you got those silly things on your yard yet, and you haven't sold the cow. So at some point, you got to say, okay, I'm not breeding this cow, or you got to say, I am selling a broken mouth cow.
Yep.
So what are you going to do? It's kind of it's a very unique cycle. But here's the thing: if I could sell a broken mouth cow, this is where I'm at now. So this is my thought, and I'm trying to figure out if this makes sense. If I could sell the broken mouth cow, I don't really care what kind of feed I got. Sell the broken mouth cow, $2,500, or broken mouths were at least that. $2,500 to $2,800 probably for broken mouth cow, and buy back a heifer for $3,800. So it cost me $1,000,
Yep.
and I could have a young cow. I'm going to start the cycle back over. I'm going to sell a percentage of those critters. And then, but like that would probably be the best way to do it. Right. Man, I don't know. It's so hard to know because that old cow you know her, she's milking good and she's raising a good calf for you.
Yeah.
And so it's so hard, but that's why I don't approach my cattle business like I would a different investment,
Yeah, you almost have, I see what you're saying. It's like you almost have some, what's the word? I don't want to use the word sentiment,
but yeah, you're kind of attached to them in some way.
Do you get, how attached will you get to your Coca-Cola stock though?
Well, I don't know. That's weird because why would you? I mean, at some point, you're going to have to, for that stock to do you any good at all, you're going to have to sell it.
Right, but same with the cow. Well, I mean,
I know what you're
not
saying.
really, but
I know what you're saying. But so in 25 years, you sell stocks. You sell a few stocks. But I like the idea of being able to sell.
Stocks are extremely liquid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
being able to have accumulated and being able to sell for when I don't want to have to go to work so much anymore.
Oh,
and
yeah,
being able to
definitely.
have the funds to do what needs to be done, I guess.
Here's
like that,
here's another interesting idea I thought of, like for my own self, thinking about like going into as I get older. Not that I'm going to do it, but if you did, if I set my place up to be able to handle and feed any critter, like I just put in the infrastructure to be able to feed, maybe 1,000 head of calves. That would also, you could feed anything in there. And then with pasture, you could also graze and cows. So if you had this set up to where half of your investment was in a herd and half your investment or not investment, I don't know how to explain this, but like maybe half of my farm was in this cow-calf situation and the other half was in this cattle trading situation.
Mm-hmm.
And then you were running a big enough deal where you could hire a couple of guys to do your cowboying.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just you had this calf operation in this nice farmstead, and you were at an auction sale 3 days a week, and you just watched the markets. And you just sat in there and bought cattle, hauled them home, let the cowboys loose on them, And then, I mean, or whatever you do, maybe you're going to hold it. Maybe you're just going to fatten them up for. Maybe you're just going to go clean them up and take them to the next sale a week later. Or maybe you're going to hold them for 3 months, and or maybe in the minute you buy them, look, I'm going to hedge them here. Going to hold them for 30 days. Going to move them.
Yeah.
And just because I'm with you on that. Like when I'm 65 years old, I don't have any interest in being on a 4-wheeler running around chasing calves.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I want to be able to go walk around out in my cow herd and look at my nice red calves.
Yeah.
That would be fun. Walk around out there and just see what's going on. Anyway, I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah. So, and I know very, very little about hedging
I don't
cows.
either.
Like
I don't either, but I'm fascinated with it.
But anyways, my dad was talking about that there was like this one cattle feeder was telling him, so you buy these calves and you put something on them, put a call or something. I don't know if that's what you're doing or if you're just hedging them. And you like when you see that you can make $25 a head, you hedge them. But then you do that like 3 or 4 times on the same calf, and you end up making $100 a head on that calf. That was intriguing to me. Like you can actually do that, and it's not that risky. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like that's
Right,
kind of
right.
intriguing.
You sacrifice. Basically, what it boils down to is you sacrifice some of the top side
Right.
to secure yourself against the bottom side.
Yeah.
Yep.
But if you have numbers,
Right.
you can put the numbers to it, and it will make sense.
Yep.
And you're not going to watch yourself go backwards.
Right.
at
And the
least.
only thing you have to sort of fear is if you all of a sudden some sickness comes in and you lose half the herd, or
Right.
20% of the herd, and there goes all your profit.
Yeah. Right.
But you're gonna
That's
win
right.
some, you're gonna lose some.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what you're in.
Yep.
So if you've got 3 pens of animals that you're tinkering with and you lose it on one of them, oh dear.
Yeah.
Like if you've done it right, then that's all you say is, well, oh dear. But then
Yeah.
you just keep on.
Yeah.
But but I don't know. I don't even know what the risk of that is. Of what I don't even know what the chances are of losing 20% of a herd. I have no idea. It's pretty rare.
I
Ain't it?
wouldn't say it would happen very readily. No. Yeah.
I mean, you probably have as high of a chance of the stock market crashing. By the way, I sound like I'm making a case for cattle and not stocks, but I'm not doing that. I am fascinated with stocks as well. But only reason I'm a proponent of cattle, maybe at all, is because, in as much as I understand my gift, my interest, and where it intersects with the need of the world, without going into it in any detail, I think cattle is closer to it. Now that does, but for some, like, that's just me, right? Some people, the stock thing completely aligns with their purpose in life.
Yeah.
You know, and great.
Yeah.
But again, I'm not. The thing is, I'm not like 100% sure. I'm by no means certain that cattle are part of my future, or
Yeah.
way I'm laying out cattle is part of my future either. I mean, you know,
That's so intriguing. So there was this. I seen an ad for a job opportunity over in kind of central Montana, I think, and there was a. Anyways, in that ad, it kind of made that clear that this was for a. I mean, the job opportunity would give you a purposeful, like it would be purposeful. Your life would be purposeful. And that was intriguing to me anyways. And that reminds me, like, I don't know why they think that. Like, I agree with them. Actually, I do agree.
you personally do agree with that.
I do agree with them
Yeah.
that it would be purposeful.
Yeah.
But I've started to wonder even about that side of myself if that really would be as purposeful as what I think it might be. But anyways, so with that being said, it always intrigues me when there's certain books that get written that way, where they talk about someone and what they did in life. And the latest that I've been listening to is Gales of November, which is a book that tells the tale of the Edmund Fitzgerald. It was a ship, very, very popular ship that sank on Lake Superior.
Oh, right.
In
Okay.
1975,
Okay.
I think is when it was. But anyways, and it talks in there about, I mean, the man that wrote the book says that these boys would, it was an extremely coveted job. There was no ship like the Edmund Fitzgerald. Like, the food was superior, the service was superior, the whole ship was different. It had a different feel than the others. It was run so much tighter and smoother. And there was a lot of pride in working on the Edmund Fitzgerald. And people, like, you had to have seniority even to get get hired, pretty much. And but anyways, and these boys they would get on this boat, and like, it was just like they had found their purpose in life. It just
Interesting.
intrigues me.
That's fascinating.
You know, like what was it? About 7 months. I think shipping is about 7 months.
Okay.
Because that's interesting, though. It freezes up in about January. It seems like it'd thaw out a lot sooner. But I thought they had about 5 months off in the winter. But anyways, and then, yeah, obviously there was two.
Is spring stormy season or something?
Well, I'm trying to remember. That's what I was going to say. Is there was 2 months that are the worst, and I'm pretty sure that November is actually one of those months. But they're still shipping in November, like they did.
Oh, wow.
And them guys were crazy. There's something very intriguing to me about that. I wish I remembered the name of there's a line on a boat, and there was a man that this line was named after, and so that's the water line. I mean, that's as full as you fill that boat.
Oh, gotcha.
To give it the right amount of ballast, or
Yep.
how many inches into the water and
Yep.
out of the water they can be. But anyways, they started, because shipping was incredibly lucrative and good. I mean, this was they were shipping taconite iron ore, pellets from, where were they mining? I guess they were loading in Superior, Wisconsin a lot of times, and then shipping them to probably Chicago? I don't know if that's where they'd have been going. It seems like I think they were going further. I don't know where they were unloading. They were going to New York.
Where are the steel mills?
Yeah.
I think they're more. I think they're in the east and they're in Pennsylvania. Some in Pennsylvania.
It seemed like they would have ended up on the.
I don't know.
They wouldn't have ran those things down the St. Lawrence, though. But they have.
I got no
I
idea.
can't remember now. That's odd. Anyways, where was I going with that thought? Yeah, I had
Purpose.
Yeah.
They
ran that line.
Yeah.
They had that line, and then they were always fudging that line. And eventually, the board that, like the shipping board of directors, or whatever you want to call it, like, they finally gave them an extra, I think, 39 inches. I mean, it was huge. It was actually amazing. And then then what was interesting is these captains would still fudge. If you did the right thing, you'd still fudge it just by a couple inches. I mean, we're talking about another,
couple hundred tons.
Yeah, right. Which is substantial. I mean, you get paid by the ton.
Mm-hmm.
It makes some difference. It's just intriguing what they would do. But then that's what happened. There was just
They were just too overloaded, and then
too
you got in the
overloaded.
storm.
I haven't listened to the full story, but then what happened is, unbeknownst to them, there was a warm. It was unseasonably warm. There
Uh-oh.
was 2 days that were unseasonably warm, like pushing 70 degrees in November on the lakes, which was almost unheard of.
Brewed this massive
And
storm.
there was a warm moisture coming up from California, and then there was a big Alberta
Cold front.
clipper coming down, and those things met. And they say it can get unbelievable on that, on those lakes. Like the waves get unbelievable.
How big?
Like
What are the waves?
they'll sure enough push. It's not uncommon to have 30-foot waves and even bigger.
Oh, wow.
And so, but I think, I don't know this for sure, but I think waves tend to be somewhat closer together, maybe, than the ocean. I'm not sure on that.
Okay.
If that is the case, a ship could end up getting high centered or bridging even across two waves and just, I mean,
wrecking it, kinking it.
Yeah, which I think is what happened to that boat. Is she went
And
down fast.
did we lose everybody on that one?
Yeah, that one lost everyone. 29. I think there's 29 on a ship, on a boat.
And they just couldn't get out there to rescue them.
Because it was 700 and no. Edmund Fitzgerald was 700 and some feet long, and I don't remember what it was. Maybe 740 or anyway. So kind of long boats, you know. They're pretty big.
It's too long for that storm. Wow, what a
intriguing. Anyway,
so just sunk a whole load of iron pellets
yeah,
to the bottom.
yeah, took her down.
They're down there rusting away. What a deal. Yeah, well, I found that interesting. I find that interesting too, that this ranch out there was guaranteeing purpose.
I know.
It's like, but my question is like, some hedge fund manager in New York ain't going to find purpose in that job.
That's exactly right. So only the person that it really interests is probably going to find that purposeful. And I was intrigued at that they said that you were going to find it purposeful, because I was like, I mean, used to be I would have said yes, that I would have found that purposeful. But anymore, I'm not sure if that's really what I would find purposeful. I think I would find something. I think I would find. I think what I would really enjoy is being able to use my mind, to create, to think through something that needs to happen, and then create that thing. Like probably even finish the product. I think that I find that kind of stuff rewarding. So you use your mind to, figure the problem out, figure out what needs to happen here and what would fix this problem.
Yep.
And then follow through with it and actually do the job. Or possibly even just making sure it got done would be okay. I don't know. But I think I would find that very rewarding. I don't know if that's really creating or what it would be, but I think in the end, I think that I would be very rewarding to do something like that. So,
well,
yeah.
I know this is interesting you bring this up, because I know this about myself. Things are fascinating to me until I figure them out. So I got fascinated. I still am to some degree. Fascinated with the idea of designing a sort of a small feed yard system for my place.
Yeah.
Putting in a nice set of corrals. But I know full well, if I got that all built and then got the place loaded up with calves and was just custom feeding calves, I would get bored to death.
Yeah.
I'd hate it.
Exactly. Yep.
And now that I know that about myself, once one knows that about oneself, that is helpful, because you can keep yourself from sort of falling into a pit. But anyway, um, so you once I know that about myself, now I know I sort of got to design my life. I've got to keep some sort of creative endeavor in my life
Yeah.
and make sure the end of my creative endeavor isn't my demise.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's interesting. Um, so I wonder if that's how it would be with I wonder if that's how it'd be with designing and building a house. Because we've been kind of throwing that around a little bit. Just the idea, just the the idea of having putting a house somewhere where you had a little better view, and I don't know if that would make any difference on anybody's how they felt about life or not. But it seems like it would be neat, be interesting to live that way for a while, be able to see a little more. So then we've gone back and forth. We've right at the yard. So you put up a shop, and then you're like, well, now you kind of get stuck there.
Yep.
Like, okay, we're
Yeah.
gonna live here, right?
Yeah.
Well, instead of like thinking deeper and realizing that there's other places too, and yet, so the other place would be completely out remote in our land over to the east, and then it would be almost, you'd have to almost live completely off grid, which is sort of intriguing to a point, but would it really be what you wanted?
Well, I was going to ask you about that. So this house building thing is fascinating. So are you do you know exactly sort of like what you want in a house, or be separate from like your mimetic or like, it's fascinating to me that everyone sort of, not everyone, but most houses are sort of built the same. And I'm just like, is this actually what you wanted? Or just what everyone else wants, and so then you decided that's what or you know what I mean?
You mean I want a house because other people are building a house, even that type of deal?
Well,
Sort of,
I'm
or not,
thinking
not so
even
much.
maybe even more detailed about that. So
Yeah,
everyone wants a nice house. I
yeah,
mean,
sure.
I'm very empathetic to that actually, but what they want in a house, what they want the house to do for them.
Mm-hmm.
No, okay. Take Mike for example. I mean, we can make. I mean, that house up there. Like, I don't know exactly what he wants for the house, but generally speaking, the reason he's building that house is he believes that the house will bring him something that he doesn't have now.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what our beliefs are about what we need in order to get that feeling, that's sort of where my questions are, is like,
If you would wake up one morning, you say, "Oh, I spent a lot of money here, and I
what?
didn't get."
And this isn't even what I wanted.
Yeah, right.
Like, this is what everyone else, maybe, I mean, I don't want this is the most extreme, but this is what everyone else wanted. And so I thought I would want it too. And now I don't want it. I don't like it.
Yeah. Well, that's what people. I've noticed a real trend, and I hate it. I absolutely hate it. But people are more interested in the exterior appearance of their house than on the interior. I don't know if you find it that way, but it does
I hadn't thought
almost
of
seems
this.
to me like it has happened that way. people put more into the exterior of their house on the way that house is going to look on the outside, and forget about the interior and the way it's going to feel.
This, yeah. Well, now that you bring that up, the insides of most houses are extremely underwhelming.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Anyways.
Oh man,
Yeah.
There's a few houses where I've been in and I'm like, oh my word.
Yeah.
Like I fit in here. This is beautiful. But that's pretty rare.
Yeah. So I think that, and this is the very best example, in my opinion, of being swayed by, I don't know if popular opinion is even quite the right word, but it's out of Prince Harry's book, Spare.
Okay.
And I may have told you this and I may not have, but anyways, he says that there was this company that they were saying, him and Prince William said, hey, what can we do to promote your business? And so they said, this company said, well, hey, wear these bracelets to this ball game. I don't know if it was a ball game or if it was, anyway, some large social function, or entertainment deal. And of course, everybody's seen them wearing these bracelets, and business
soared.
Yeah, completely changed. And you'll see that people like Shields does that. I am absolutely appalled at how well their marketing works. I cannot believe how well Shields marketing works. You like the Hoka brand shoes is one, and then what is it?
Is that their deal?
Well, I don't know that they're selling Hoka, but they're actually selling the is it QC or QU or what is that brand?
Yeah, okay.
I can't read. I don't know what it is.
I know what you're talking about.
But anyways, I'm positive that that's I don't know if Shields is promoting that brand. Here's another example. This is actually very interesting. Canada Goose, the coat maker, Canada Goose, is becoming actually quite popular. Shields actually has started carrying their products.
Oh, really?
And there is, I was in a Canada Goose store in the Mall of America. And anyways, what's interesting about it is it started out as a functional, it had
purely functional
function and purpose, right? Okay. And now I just Googled this the other day because I was looking on their website. I'm like, where'd their fur go? They discontinued fur, using real coyote fur on their hoods because, I mean, my opinion is they became popular, and popular says we don't want to be infringing on animal rights.
Oh God!
Like I'm kind of surmising, but I'm sure that's what happened. You know what I'm saying?
So they basically, well, you're saying they don't do cowhide. They've reduced the amount of cowhide on these things.
They totally quit putting the coyote fur on their hoods. And there was the whole purpose of the coyote fur on the hoods was because you could pull them up. Well, like that's just like the coolest thing I think is a coyote fur hood. I mean, that was half the reason to go with them. I don't know if they're still using duck down or not. I hope so. I mean, if they're not, if they're using a synthetic down, then
get out of here.
Then we might as well start our own company. But anyways, but they are they're going for money.
Oh dear.
Do you know what I'm saying? I think that's what
they're
happened.
Selling out.
Yeah, they're selling out for money because there was people with money that came along and they said, well, we'd wear your coats, but
oh dear,
you're doing this. I don't know. I'm making I'm making some assumptions, but I'm sure that's where it's coming from. Anyways, that's too bad that they did that. But I'm intrigued with that, how affected by like it's almost like it's beyond us to not be affected by
right
this. Like
Do you remember who's the mimetic desire guy? Who wrote the books on mimetic desire?
Oh man,
You
I don't
remember
know.
who I'm talking about?
I do not know. No, you'll have to bring it up.
There's a guy who wrote a bunch of books on mimetic desire. Rene Girard. He made the claim that you can't escape. You can't escape it. It just is part of life. Your own well, the best escape was to just become a hermit. And I think that's what he did. Now,
Okay.
I don't know if I agree with this conclusion entirely, you know, but some of that's inescapable. So let's just assume some of that's inescapable.
Mm-hmm.
I still believe that you can build a house that feels comfortable when you walk in it. And that's important to me. And I look forward to one day building me a place that's like that. But I'm quite certain that it won't be everybody's thing.
Yeah, but you don't.
But it's my freaking house.
Are you sure that Are you sure? Okay. So we've talked about this. Sam and I have actually talked about this, that there's some people that criticize us for, I mean, even like a candlelit supper like the other night, you know, like,
Okay.
you know, the whole fact of, or the whole part of like, we recognize it. Some people recognize, just like you're saying, some people are going to recognize it. And some people don't recognize it per se, but they do, in that it makes them feel comfortable. Like, so many people say they like well, I know that you agree with me on this. Anyways, lighting is huge. I mean, the right temperature. You got to have
Yep.
the right temperature lighting, or it totally. And so some people recognize that it makes a difference on the way they feel, and some people never think about it, but it still makes a difference on the way
okay.
they feel. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, no, maybe they don't. Maybe
Yep.
they're not feeding that part of their
Oh, yeah,
soul,
yeah.
but they're still recognizing it, that it's making a difference.
Well, I would give people enough room that the thing that makes me perfectly comfortable, like maybe the thing that makes me perfectly comfortable isn't quite the same thing as what makes you perfectly. I'm actually okay with that.
Yes.
I don't know what you think about that.
No, I'm okay with that too. And on some level, what we think is I mean, so in some way we have this idea of what we imagine as,
Yeah.
I don't know if romantic is really the right word,
Right.
but there is something about life that we all are attracted to, that part of life, maybe
Yep.
the romantic side of life. And so there's a certain part that but is it worth, how much is that worth to you to not be practical? Like, I don't know if you're talking about like in building a house. I don't know if you would necessarily be practical in the way you built your house, or would you actually spend unnecessary money to achieve what you wanted in the end,
Well, I don't.
or
That's
what
a
you
good
think
question.
you want? Yeah.
Incidentally, that one's pretty easy for me from the standpoint that what I want is practical.
Okay.
So that would be a difficult one for me to answer.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good question. Something I actually hadn't considered. But one of the things I wonder how important it is to sort of back to this sort of knowing who you are, knowing what you want. How important is that step in actually building the house that you want? Because it serves that end. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, if I'm sort of bouncing like oh, I like this, oh I like that, and then you'll build a house that you like in the moment.
Yeah, right. I know.
But if the house serves your purpose, then it will always fit you. I mean, I shouldn't say that always fit you. I mean, because I think I mean the things our purpose probably does mature in life. Be my guess to some degree. And it will certainly be the case that probably 20 years from now, even if I have I know my purpose, 20 years from now, there's going to be details that are going to be different for sure. But so yeah, I'm not, but I do think it's probably possible. Like, so one of the things about knowing what your purpose is that you can then separate opportunities from the ones that are the ones from yours that are the ones from the ones that aren't yours.
Yeah, right.
Like, even if it's like, you know your purpose, and then along comes an opportunity, and you can know if that opportunity aligns with your purpose. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that can be. And so from that standpoint, if you build your house with that in mind, then all of the opportunities that come to you that you take line up with that. And so then, anyway, I think you follow what I'm saying.
Yeah, right.
But I don't know. I'm sort of fascinated by this idea of knowing what it is you're meant for. And then once this has come to me, I've started to ask myself, or I begin to wonder, how many people know what they're meant for? I mean, I don't know the answer to this. Like, there's people go all through their life and are they're single-minded, and they never explicitly maybe stated or knew what their mission statement was. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
So that but still they knew what their mission was. Like Warren Buffett knows what his mission is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
He didn't
Totally.
accidentally become rich or whatever, or become successful at what he does.
Yeah.
His success turned out to be wealth, which he admitted himself. It's like, if I'd have been born in the 500 BC or 1500 BC, I'd have been someone's lunch, or I'd have been something's lunch.
Yeah.
I just happened to be born at a particular time where my particular interest lined up with this particular thing, and it has brought me this.
Yeah. Yeah.
He takes and that was the humility in that was actually kind of fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he so happened to be born at a time when he's in one way the king of what he does.
Yeah, exactly.
But if he'd have been born sometimes else, he'd just been like worthless. So I don't know. Do you have any idea what your sort of
Well, it's kind of an intriguing thought. And I don't know what it is for sure. And in some ways, I think it's not necessarily that it would not necessarily be that it would make you financially successful, or would it?
No,
it would just
I don't
be
think so.
that you would be satisfied. You'd be satisfied with what you were getting out of life.
I don't think success is
I know.
aligned with money and all. I specifically don't think mine is And as much as I understand it, I don't think mine's lined up with money. I mean, money doesn't really, as long as I have enough to take care of myself, I'm not that tore up about enormous quantities of cash.
Yeah, right. I do not know what mine is.
Well,
That is very
that's
interesting.
completely fine.
Yeah. But I have thought about it, but I don't know what it is. Because I wonder sometimes if a person, yeah, if you do, I mean, there's always the thought out there that if you do what you enjoy, you'll be successful at it, which is kind of meaning, I mean, even if it's not financially, really, you still will be good at it because you'll enjoy it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you would enjoy it. And yet, sometimes, I think sometimes I've played the victim just a little bit. You know, not thinking that I haven't had the opportunity, right?
Yeah.
Oh, where is that true or isn't it? I don't know where that's at, but and I don't know, but I think I'm kind of coming to realize that there's some of the things that I hold on to that really actually aren't as important to me as, or some of the things that I've held on to, some of the beliefs that certain things are quite important to me, actually I'm realizing aren't.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I was holding on to them, for sure.
Well, I don't know. Unfortunately, I'm not. I can't really speak to this. I'm going to say something, but I don't really have the license to say it because I don't. I'm not one that's tended towards the sympathy or the victim card.
Yeah.
But so all the disclaimers aside,
Yeah.
everyone has interests. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Everybody has something that interests them, things that interest them, and everybody is aware of a need in the world. So from that standpoint, everyone has a purpose. However, there I would at the moment I'm of the current belief probably that there is a time in one's life there are things people go through in their life where figuring that out is more difficult than other times in their life to figure that out. Does that make sense?
Hmm. Yeah.
Like it's now once one reaches like oh I'm starting to lose it. So because I'm sort of at the edge of what I even know. But like so the first sort of quarter of our life, we're sort of in the discovery age. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? But then there comes a time when we sort of get past the discovery and we realize we've sort of reached I think it's sort of the maturity stage. And you know when you see a 35-year-old man who's still in his sort of discovery stage of life, it's not very pretty. And what I
Great.
mean, you know, especially
Yeah.
in its extreme sense, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Sure.
but so from that standpoint, I think that once a man reaches sort of that, crosses that threshold, maybe about anybody could. Not that I'm not, and I'm not going to suggest that they should. Whatever. I don't know. Whatever. I don't even know. But I think they could. But I don't even really like saying that because there's almost an implication in there that I think that everyone who hasn't found their purpose is dumb. And I don't think that at all because I don't know. I'm by no means certain what mine is either.
Yeah. Right.
Oh man. But anyway, I know I feel kind of self-conscious about this because I've kind of been honking this horn for a couple weeks now because it's been something I've been working on.
Sure. The purpose.
Yes,
Yeah.
trying to understand what my purpose is in life,
Hmm.
and but I think one of the reasons I'm excited about it is in as much as I have figured out what it is, it has liberated me and has given me direction, and that's been pretty cool. Now, what happens when I discover that I was completely erroneous? That won't be a good day. But
Yeah.
I actually have more faith in that. I actually am reasonably certain. I may be off a little, but I'm in the general direction.
Yeah. You understand where you're heading.
If that makes sense.
More.
Like I do think that whenever, like Peterson talks about this, you're sort of aiming into the blackness. You see a star and you aim for that star. Oops. And then you find out you get a ways down. Oops, I'm off a couple of degrees. And so now I'm going to aim for that star. You get away. Oops, I'm still wrong. And so success is a zigzag path.
Yeah.
It's not a,
Yes.
this is my purpose. Yom. That ain't really how it works. And so I find comfort in that, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, that's intriguing. You kind of gotta take it day by day, don't you? And yeah, it can really, like you said, it can be very zigzaggy. But it is interesting to me how different times different times I've just started thinking about something and I've been like, I should do this. Like, this is what I should be doing.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
this is the thing, like, whatever. I mean, just, it's a little bit like Mike though with his house and then just getting tired of
Yeah.
it in the end. Maybe I might be just a little bit that way, but like, yeah, just with my insulation business, knowing that, like, hey, maybe I should get more into this part of it right now. And yeah, and it totally made sense, and it did. Like, I think it did. I think it made sense. And yeah, that has been interesting to me, that there has been just certain times where it's just been like, well, even like this house deal. Like, when I start talking about something, start thinking about something like
Yeah.
this, it all of a sudden it happens.
Yeah.
That is the way it is. That's
Yep.
just like, it might happen.
Yeah.
Because you just start thinking about it, and even if it doesn't fully make sense, maybe.
But this goes
Yeah.
back to what you talked about before. The thing that terrifies me about this is that if there's anything that we have the capacity to do, it's justify a position. Do you know what I mean?
Right? Yeah, for sure.
Like I was even thinking about, I'll have this idea about something, and I know that I have to be careful around this idea because I know full well that if I unleash all of my attention on this thing, I will justify it and I will buy this.
Right.
But do you follow what I'm saying?
Yes, I know. I do.
And that scares me about myself is because I can get obsessive about stuff.
Yeah, and even about, so that's right. And even thinking about a house, you can get pretty obsessive about the way you think something needs to be done.
Yeah.
And then y'all spend money
Yeah.
galore. And in the end, you're like,
This
lands.
didn't even turn out well.
That was not what I wanted. Like, I sure enough didn't want the bill,
Yep.
And that's what's intriguing to me about that, is that you miss it'd be interesting to know what a person would do, if you had cash unlimited, sort
Yep.
of like where you'd go, what would happen.
Yeah.
That's really the stopping point.
Yeah.
That's what's stopping you from doing exactly what you want. Or what?
Hmm. I hadn't thought about it quite like that.
I know if I had plenty of money, I would build my house too big.
Oh, really?
I think it would. Because I don't know what would stop me. Because there's little things that really actually, like, I feel like,
I want a room that looks like this. I want a room like this,
Yeah.
and I want this, and I want that.
Yeah.
And then pretty soon you got this massive whopper of a
Right.
monstrosity.
right, and it would be kind of overdone and too much, I think, almost. But at the same time, like, I like the idea of wood and stone versus like sheetrock and paint.
Yeah.
Like, just because it kind of seems like you can, like, even something that might wear and look nice with wear.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's something kind of neat about that.
Yes. Well, I'm actually just as we sit here now and talk about this, I'm thinking about this basement
Mhm.
where we are now. When we started, we had a dream. Lan and I both had a picture of what we wanted, and it probably wasn't the same thing, but it's not exactly how I pictured it, but I like it.
Mhm.
We're not done with it either. But why am I okay with the fact that it's not exactly how I imagined it? But I am right. I'm okay with it, even though it didn't turn out exactly how I imagined it.
Yeah.
I don't know how that happened. Actually, now that I think about that, I think maybe one of the reasons is I'm okay with it is because I don't even actually sit here and wish it was different. But I also wonder if maybe one of the reasons I'm okay with it is that I know that I'll maybe one day do something like it again.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if settling is always good though. Settling for less settling for less than what you hoped. That's something I hadn't thought about really
Yeah.
very much. But like, yeah, if you build your house, and in the end it's not exactly how you had in mind, and you tell yourself you're okay with it, but then in your really honest moments you're like, I'm not too sure.
Yeah, I know. But I wonder why you would tell yourself that. That wouldn't have, I mean, it would never be because hopefully it would never be because you perceive that other people thought something different about it. Hopefully that wouldn't be the reason.
Well,
but-
there is the. I mean, the facts of the matter are, is if we build a house, it's not going to be just me.
yeah.
It'll be partly the wife too, but maybe a more real thing would be. So I want to build me I've wanted this for a long time. I want to have me a shooting shack, a dude's shed.
Okay.
Now that would just be me, right? So Lan and I both went. I want to have a shooting shack, and I want to build her a this sort of she shed / greenhouse for her.
Sure.
And then we'd each have our own space that was us
Yeah.
specifically,
Right.
and I think that'd be pretty fun. Now, in which case, there wouldn't be much excuse for
Yeah.
something at all.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
unless it's just
Yeah.
astronomically expensive and you don't have the money. Like what you, so that's the thing is you brought up, and that's something I actually hadn't really considered. Like, what if what I want is far outside of my financial ability.
Yeah.
But maybe if what one wants is way outside of one's financial ability, one is not actually being honest with oneself about what one wants. I mean,
Yeah.
because that's the thing is what I want isn't expensive. It's actually quite simple and practical. Like I just happen to have a taste. That just happens to be my taste. Like,
Yeah.
I like wood. I like it kind of dark, or like not the wood necessarily kind of dark, but I like darker places.
Yep. Yep.
And then I don't need $25,000 chandeliers.
Yeah. Right.
I don't need. Yeah, the things I need aren't really that much. Aren't stupid expensive. So maybe I'm just lucky that way. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to be. I mean, if I had unlimited money, then what would I do? Would that change?
Well, I don't know. I
actually
wonder.
kind of tend to think. I mean, money jacks people up.
I know it does.
I mean, I don't know if that's actually true. And maybe it makes jacked up people even more jacked up. That's probably actually the truth. But what kind of nasty things about me would come out if I if I had a lot of money?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's actually kind of scary to think about.
It seems like with a house that you could end up with I mean, it wouldn't be all that great though to have a bunch of bedrooms that just never got used, or a bunch of space.
Yes,
Like,
right. I don't need that.
There's just something about using things
Right.
that's fun. I mean, that's what you want.
I don't like my personal life or my house. Like I don't like the idea that there are motivations that I have that I'm not aware of. I'm not comfortable with that. I don't want. I mean, I know it exists. I don't. In as much as it lies within me, I like to be intentional about. I would like to be an intentional person.
Yeah.
Same with a house. I don't. I don't want to have sort of unexplored spaces in my house where I just never go to.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
that's
don't know if there's any
interesting.
correlation between the two.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very interesting. There was I mean, the reason I brought that up, I thought about it. There's a lady back in, a neighbor back there in D. Smith that we knew quite well, and she was married to this, I don't know if he was a realtor or what it was, from Chicago, I think. Anyway, they built this big L-shaped house, and it just, like, I feel like, and there's two people. I mean, they never had any children. There's just two people that live in there, and like they don't entertain. It's not like they entertain
wow.
people, or I mean, so it's just.
Yep.
I have no idea that place does not get used.
I just don't need
there's
that.
just there's just so much of it that you could never, that would never give you that satisfaction of standing out on a porch, eating pizza with people and drinking a soda.
Strikes me as the same thing as like you have this one thing that you do when you're at social function that you don't like about yourself, but you never address it.
Yeah.
That's how it would be for me to have a house like that.
Yeah, right.
I'd always be like, even if it wasn't conscious, it would be subconscious. It would be there that there's this part of that's just wasted.
Yeah. So then,
it's not being used.
Right. So then would you so if you built a house out, would you build it with that in mind? Like build it, I mean, obviously you always think family, right? Like family's going to continue your legacy. So they're going to be the ones that continue to use your house. Or do you think community? Because you're thinking, so then does that affect where you put your house even? I mean, you got to think about those things, or like I was saying, I mean, if you build something off grid, Like it better either be something that could easily, like, you could have a little vision like of you know, well, maybe someday we're not going to live out here, we're going to live who knows where, and this could be a um it could possibly turn into an Airbnb or something, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Hmm.
you could have that kind of a
Yeah.
vision, that it was going to be used that way. Or yeah, or is your vision just like, no, it's going to turn into a um your boy or somebody's going to have it in the end. But so, and the other thing that's kind of interesting is so for me, we always had I mean, my folks' house was about 1,000 feet away from the other part of the yard. And um like, I've kind of got used to that idea that that's the way it works. I mean, but now I'm talking about 2 miles. I'd be two
Yeah.
miles or 3 miles
Yeah.
away from my shop. Would I really be okay with that?
Yeah.
Having your house totally separate from your yard.
I think, boy, howdy, I don't know. I mean, seeing how we don't have kids, I think for me, it's more of a, I think I do imagine building me a forever home. And more of a, it's a place where I entertain, maybe especially the people that are close to me.
Mhm.
And it's an oasis for freedom of expression. You can say your craziest ideas here.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's a place that reminds a person it's a place that's close to the land.
Yeah.
That reminds a person that we are attaches a person sort of back to the roots, if that makes sense, like the land.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Yep.
and so from that standpoint, it anchors a person. Me first. And then the people who I'm close to second. And I think that's sort of I think that's sort of the thing I have in mind with a play with a forever home.
Forever home, yeah. And I'd be interested to know. So, like, because you've kind of said that you enjoy, like, when you go camp, you actually don't mind a big campground with people,
Right.
lots of people around. I mean, like, but like and oddly enough, I mean, when I think about, when I think I know what I want, or when I think about what I think I want,
Mhm.
it's always quite secluded. It would be, and I'm not sure why.
Well, I'm definitely I understand. I definitely understand that.
Yeah.
Like, there's definitely a time for is the word seclusion.
Yeah.
Like, I definitely don't mind going camping, and you are in the nowhere.
Yeah.
Like, there is something special about that too, for sure.
Yeah. But then, even so, thinking about this home, and just totally thinking about what really makes the most sense. Like, does the seclusion actually outweigh the fact that you're not going to be within walking distance of your shop? Or would you in 10 years say, man, I really wish we'd have just built our house over here?